Joining us for the news review, we have two candidates, but one is online with us for now. Dr. Kwame Asante is a political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. In a bit, he'll be joined by Dr. Jabir Mohammed, senior lecturer, University of Ghana Business School. Dr. Asante, a very good morning to you, sir.
Good morning, Ben. How are you, my brother?
It's that kind of morning. The weather's a bit nippy. Here we are doing this for God and country. How about you?
I am very cool in my bunker here.
In your bunker? Sounds like something out of Nazi Germany. But good to hear you're cool in your bunker. Just a quick thought. It's a Wednesday. We do AM business and all of that. How is your fish farm doing?
Great. We are progressing from strength to strength. And it's my hope and prayer that we'll be able to expand it after the experiment. Yeah.
I see. And it's catfish.
One day I have to extend invitation to you, visit the house, and then take a look at things for yourself.
Actually, the blame is on me. Shame on me, because in the past, I do recall at least twice you've extended invitations to me, and I am the one who is yet to honor these invitations. So one of these days, we should definitely plan it. But it's catfish, right? And how many fingerlings did you start with?
I started with 1,000.
1,000.
For every cycle, you start depending on the size of your pond. But I started with 1,000 and then started learning the ropes, observing the process and all that. And I started with only one pond, but today I have 10 ponds. Yeah.
And how many, fingerlings or fish, if you like?
Fingerlings, you start with about 1,000, but because of mortality, by the time you get to the end of the cycle, you should hover around 800.
Okay, but I'm saying with your 10 ponds now, about how many fish?
Okay. Now, I place each one at 750. Yeah.
Okay, so that will be about 7,500 fish.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that they can have an opportunity to swim and then develop and then also build resistance and then be able to develop well. Yeah.
Your story reminds me of the proverb, of the talents in the Bible, and the one who you've multiplied one and now you have 10. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I guess example for all of us, especially young people, there are things we can go into, but it is also cost intensive and it requires a lot of attention. If you lose attention, your fish will die and you lose your money. So that is that. Anyway, quick thoughts, any thoughts you have for us this morning before we get into the papers?
Yes, I have a major one in the area of governance, that is the threat against democracy, which Afrobarometer released a report on. And I'm sure you are aware that there are a number of Ghanaians who are rooting for military rule. I will say to them that please stay away from military rule. Why am I saying this? I am not too old, but I've seen at least 2 military regimes. And I will never, in any stretch of imagination, support any military rule. I saw 79, I saw 81. But let me look at the military rule in general. When you give them opportunity, or even if you don't give them opportunity, and they take opportunity to rule your country, in the onset, you see them doing things that will attract you. But in no time, you see their real color. Human rights abuse, all manner of treatment. In this country, women were stripped naked and caned in between their thighs. I saw and I read. Not only that, there were a lot of abuses, and I'll urge people to read the U.S. State report on human rights, and you'll be inundated with abuses. I have been a reporter at the National Reconciliation Commission, and I listened to gory tales of human rights violation coming out of military rule. It is true that we are in difficult times. The economy, they are trying to fix it and all that. But it's not as bad as we think to the extent that we want to invite the military. Please, young people, everybody, stay off that course. Because for the military, if you read General, one of the army generals is saying that soldiers are very good in what they do, but they have not been trained how to manage or rule a civilian society. Yes. So please let military be at the barracks. Let them do what they know how to do best by defending us at all times, which they've been doing very well. But never invite military into Ghanaian politics. We have had enough, and we will not want to go back. Democracy, for me, is about the best system. I acknowledge that there are difficulties, but I tell you, if you see the dividends that democracy will give you, and you compare to military rule, you will want to stay with democracy forever. I am for democracy, and I'm ever ready to defend democracy to the hilt. The soldier, I forgot his name, is General Okran. His book, A Myth is Broken. If you read that book, you will come across a lot of things. Young people, please, let us support in building our country. There is nothing wrong when you see government is losing track. You draw the government's attention, you launch criticism, and you stay the course using the rules of the game, that is the law. And if you don't get results, sometimes you go to court and seek redress. But encouraging that we should topple a civilian regime and replace it with military, please stay off. It is a passport to your grave.
All right. Let me just add that this trend has been happening over time when it comes to the Afrobarometer over the last maybe 5-6 years. If you look at the trend, the tolerance or the appetite of Africa, especially West Africa, for coup d'etats has been going up. There's been an uptick, and you see that is why in our sub-region you have 3-4 entities that have gone the way of coup d'etats. If you look at Niger on the other end, then you look at Mali, Burkina Faso, among others. But I think it must also be made clear that this is on the back of the last Afrobarometer survey within the last how many months. And the point that was made there, as I recall it, was that if our leaders fail to deliver what they ought to, that is when people feel. Those who said yes felt that the appetite would be there for military incursions in governance. But it's also interesting because yesterday, Major General Emmanuel Kotia, I beg your pardon, Kotia, my former lecturer, made mention of the fact that for them in the military, they have absolutely no appetite now for coup d'etats, especially with the levels of education, the training, and all that, and that their business is not in governance. And so if anyone wanted to go into politics, he would have to leave the military and go into politics. So that's pretty reassuring. Let me bring in Dr. Jabir Mohammed. Dr. Mohammed, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, my brother, and good morning to our listeners.
All right. Good to have you. Something brief thoughts for us so we can get into the papers. And gentlemen, I want your submissions to be brief as well so that we can exhaust, the stack of newspapers we have here this morning. Dr. Mohammed, over to you.
So, yeah, this morning I want to talk about the rate at which our currency is appreciating. I think that I have seen that we have made significant progress within the last few days. I just want to hope that we keep the momentum working.
Right.
Businesses want to have a very stable currency so that they can plan. If we have a situation where the currency is appreciating, in another time you have an excruciating depreciation of the currency, then it leaves no room for businesses to be able to plan, and even individuals. So I urge the government to continue to work hard to ensure that we have a stable currency so that we can plan and plan appropriately.
I've also read on this, it's quite a surge by the Ghana cedi, but is it not also because of some import issues, reductions, and some money that has been pumped into the system courtesy of the IMF? Is it because we are doing anything special?
Well, it has always been like that. Anytime you have some currency coming in, you will see that the currency will begin to appreciate. What I think is that it means that we have to begin to work very hard, improve our exports, and ensure that we add value to our products before we export them. When we consistently do that, we can have a stable currency. The last time I was saying, if Ghanaians do not have major stakes in most of the mining company, oil company, etc., that export and bring us more money, we will continue to have a depreciation currency. But if we have a stake in these companies, you realize that the money will not go and stay there, the money will come back home. If you have a GDP over $70 billion and significant portion of the money is into these sectors, and those countries host their main accounts elsewhere, it means that you only see it in your books, but the money will never land in your country. So Ghanaians businesses must work very hard to expand their scope beyond Ghana so that we can make our currency more stable.
All right. Let's get into the papers, gentlemen. I'll start with the Ghanaian Publisher. It says, GBA dares Mahama, show us case against CJ. And I think we're going to spend a bit of time here because there are so many interesting angles to look at. There's also local government committee rally support for Zoomline. Asin Trump barks again. And even poor people want to speak their minds. How much more me, a rich man? I listened to some of these and they made for interesting listening yesterday. I think it's Mr. Pianim, who was in Pianim, who was saying that maybe, in fact, the thank you tour of the MPP should cease. It should stop because it's doing more harm than good. Let's get into the stories, gentlemen. So I'll start from page 3. GBA dares President Mahama, show us case against CJ. Now, the Ghana Bar Association has made the strongest case yet against the suspension of the Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Isaba Saki at Tokonu. The association is asking President John Dramani Mahama to publicly disclose the full decisions establishing a prima facie case against the Chief Justice, who was recently suspended from office. The Ghana Bar Association calls upon the President of the Republic of Ghana to immediately release the full decision establishing a prima facie case against the Chief Justice consistent with established precedent. This disclosure is necessary to ensure that the process is conducted in accordance with the principles of transparency and fairness. It also says the call formed part of key resolutions passed at the GBA after the media conference held on Saturday, April 26 at the Labadi Beach Hotel in Accra. The GBA also condemned what it described as unsubstantiated political commentary that could potentially undermine the authority of the judiciary. The GBA also described the Chief Justice's suspension as unconstitutional, arguing that the president acted outside the bounds of the 1992 Constitution. Let me start with you, Dr. Kwame Asah-Asante, because there are others who have also said, since when did you wake up to these facts and when did we get here so that if a constitutionally elected president triggers constitutional, clauses, it must come to this? Arguments on both sides. What do you make of it?
It is interesting that GBA has waded into this conversation. We expect them to be here a long time and in other cases as well, except that for a very long time, I have been taking them on that they've been on sabbatical leave. But now that they are in there, they are welcome. But I want to understand something. I'm not a lawyer. Is that any part of the process that they breach, that the government has breached? If there is something like that, I'm not sure a resolution is the way to go. They are lawyers. They will say there is appropriate forum, which is the court. So I will urge them that whatever they have under their sleeves, they should begin to walk to the court for us to see what has gone wrong. So this is my simple message for them, that yes, they believe so strongly, they've read their laws, and they know that that is the right thing to say. I want them to trigger a process in court so that our democracy will be better. Whatever the actions will be, the judgment, as soon as judgment comes out of this, we are students of politics. They become the building blocks of the governance society and the democratic society. So I'll urge GBA that if they believe so strongly about what they are saying, it is not about resolution. Maybe that is the starting point, but I will urge them to hurriedly go to court.
All right. So let me just read a portion of this this release or this resolution. It says, recognizing that the directive by His Lordship, the Acting Chief Justice, on the assignment of cases by his office is uncertain, and having regard to the importance of technology and the urgency of justice delivery, the Ghana Bar Association respectfully requests that this directive be withdrawn and the use of technology in the assignment of cases to the courts enhanced. Okay, so that's in a related development. It's actually this one. The Ghana Bar Association calls for the immediate revocation of the suspension of the Chief Justice, as it considers the suspension to be unconstitutional, considering the fact that the President, who is not a judge or judicial officer, exercised his discretion to suspend the Chief Justice under Article 146(10) of the 1992 Constitution, in the absence of a published constitutional instrument, statutory instrument, or regulation governing the exercise of his said discretion as required by Article 296 of the 1992 Constitution. The Ghana Bar Association hereby also calls for the immediate enactment of clear and comprehensive regulations relating to matters under Article 146 of the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana to ensure transparency, accountability, and fairness in all proceedings involving Superior Court justices, particularly in the context of the impeachment or removal of such officers. My surprise, and what, of course, I always love it when the law is tested so you can get into some of the matters. They talk about established precedent. What would that precedent be? Because I know that practically all the Chief Justices we have had within the last how many, from Georgina Wood to Sophia Kufu to Justice Enin Yabua to Gertrude Tokonu, have had petitions against them. And we have seen where in some cases it has gone and they say no prima facie case. And in others, in this instance, a case has been established. I don't know what exact precedent they refer to. Then when they say it is unconstitutional, like you were asking earlier, the fine print per the Constitution, has the President overstepped his bounds in any way? Those are the questions we probably will have to answer. And a question on my mind when it comes to even this hearing that the GBA speaks of, who then is going to constitute the panel? Acting Chief Justice Paul Bafo-Bonny, or, as some seem to be suggesting, the suspended Chief Justice. This makes for very, very interesting analysis. But let me come to you, Dr. Mohammed. What is your take on this specific development?
Yeah, well, GBA has suddenly found a voice to come back to the public domain to speak. In the past, as we said earlier on, they have been very silent. Now they are back. I'm just wondering what has brought them back. But notwithstanding, they have a case to present because they are also Ghanaians. And you have to note that last week I said that it is not the President who suspended the Chief Justice. It is the recommendation of the Council of State. He is just acting on what the Council of State has said. If they have any case, they can go to court. The court will settle everything for us. They have always told us that any problem you have, go to the court. The court is the final arbiter of all cases. So if you have a case to present, the Constitution gives you the right. It gives you the mandate to be able to communicate. So communicate your points appropriately. Go and face your colleague lawyers and judges. Let them decide for us whether what the President and the Council of State has done is right or not. Anyway, they have the right to say that they are demanding what is requiring that. I think a lot of information has been published. So what else do they want that the public has not been provided? In the past, when a similar thing happened to the Electoral Commission chair, did they find a voice to come out and demanded that they needed information that is leading to that. That was also a constitutional position. Why did they keep mute on that? So the hypocrisy is just too much. Why is it that? Is it because the Chief Justice is of your own? That is how come that you have suddenly found.
But why would you say that, though, of your own? A Chief Justice, when put there, represents all sides. In fact, like Paul, they must be all things to all people.
I'm talking in the sense that the Chief Justice is also a lawyer.
Oh, right.
If you are not a lawyer, you don't get to that position.
But then they could have done same for others as well, right? I mean, since Georgina Wood, we've not seen any such.
Yes, they could have done the same for others. So why didn't they do it for others? Why is it that this one has become a special case for them? So you don't have to be a hypocrite to find your point. You need, if you want. Are you
suggesting the GBA is dabbling in hypocrisy? Is that what you're suggesting?
That's how I see that, because in the past, when it happened to the Electoral Commission chair, did you see their voice out? They didn't. So make sure that you apply it to everybody. If you stand for justice, let your justice be applied to everyone. It should not be a selective justice. So I think that, yes, they have the right to demand, but demand it in an appropriate manner. So all the information available to them, they can gather their information, go to court for a final settlement. Maybe the court can judge that the president should make the information available to them so that they can assess whether the prima facie is a true case or not. But in any way, the prima facie has been established against her. And the best way to, to discuss or to be able to investigate you have to step aside. So they just did the needful by asking her to step aside so that a proper investigation can be carried out. She cannot be carrying her own cross, right? It should not be like she herself is there and she's setting up people to investigate her. That is a double case standard. She has to step aside for it to be investigated against her. If I commit a crime and I'm going to be investigated against and I'm a leader, I cannot be the one to appoint people to investigate me. I have to step aside. If I was even to be her, I will have honorably step aside for me to be investigated. I will not be waiting for them to suspend me.
Right.
That is more derogatory than if he had willingly stepped aside for them to investigate her.
In law, we have a term, or at least a phrase, nemo judex and causa sua. You can't be a judge in your own case. And it's a fundamental, but at the same time, there are the rules of natural justice, and she triggered those at the start of these processes, asking to see what the allegations, the charges, the petitions were against her, which she's now responded to. What I find interesting, so if the president hadn't suspended the Chief Justice, what would it mean on the same trajectory you're following? Would it mean that now that the GBA was bringing this kind of case, who would have constituted a panel on that case in respect of the Chief Justice? The Chief Justice herself, or would she have recused herself? Or would there have been, under the circumstances, another judge to constitute the panel? What would have been the influence of the Chief Justice, if any, on that? Interesting legal times. And for me, I'm always open to the legal buzz, because that is how, the law also gets refined. But I think it's also, and I may be wrong here, so if I am, someone please correct me. I think it was the Deputy AG who said a few things. And this is part of what was said. Also citing that it was only yesterday that a signed copy of the bar's resolution passed on Saturday, the 26th of April. That's 2-3 days, surfaced publicly. Then he also says, among other things, the Ghana Bar Association resolved that, one, the acting Chief Justice should withdraw his directive. The acting Chief Justice, that is Paul Bafuboni, should withdraw his directive on the assignment of cases. And two, the president should revoke the suspension of the Chief Justice. Then he goes on to say, according to the bar, the acting Chief Justice's directive is uncertain, and the president's suspension of the Chief Justice is unconstitutional. Their reasoning is that the president, who is neither a judge nor a judicial officer, exercised discretion in the absence of a published constitutional instrument, and it goes on and on. But the key points, he says, these demands are not only legally flawed and disrespectful, but they also expose a troubling inconsistency in the bar's reasoning. Just days ago, the bar issued a statement that now seems at odds with its own resolution. By law and long-standing practice, the power to assign cases is an administrative function of the Chief Justice. This function pertains to the office of the Chief Justice, office underlined, not the individual currently holding the title. It goes on, but I think that's the thrust of what I wanted to communicate. This is a conversation we're going to keep having, and I guess in the end, we shall all learn lessons. For me, if you asked me, I see some level of politics in there from both ends. But if you take away the chaff of the politics, where is the wheat of the law? And are we applying the letter of the law? And are we being fair, past, present, in how we claim we understand the law for the future? Only time will tell. This is a very interesting country. Very interesting country. Anyway, let's get into other stories. And as in Trump barks again, even poor people want to speak their minds. How much more me, a rich man? Anyway, what was meant to be a moment of sober reflection and a rekindling of grassroots trust after an embarrassing defeat in the 2024 general elections turned into a political firestorm as Kennedy Ejapong, the outspoken former member of parliament for Asin Central and one of the leading contenders for the MPP flag bearer position, erupted during the party's ongoing thank you tour. The tour, organized by the MPP leadership to reconnect with grassroots supporters following the electoral defeat, took a dramatic turn when Ejapong's volatile temperament was put to the test by none other than the Bono regional chairman, Kwame Bafo Abronye. What began as a series of speeches intended to inspire hope and unity quickly degenerated into a clash of egos, with Ejapong springing into action after a speech by Abronye seemingly struck a nerve. Abronye alluded to unguarded remarks made by leading party members prior to the elections as a key reason for the party's loss. And it goes on, but these comments did not go unanswered. The MPP firebrand, clearly ruffled, responded swiftly and explosively. And not my words. He says, "Who born dog?" Ejapong thundered when he took to the stage. It's only because of politics that poor people can stand and talk when I speak. Gentlemen, over to you. I don't know how wealthy you are, but over to you. I'll start with you, Dr. Asante.
Interesting, but I'll not go into the outbursts of Kennedy and all that. We know that already. But I will look at the thank you tour, which has brought others. From onset, I said that it is not the best of approaches.
I remember. You said something like that.
Yes. There are a lot of issues that are simmering, and the party need to what? Find an answer or answers to them.
Right.
One, we saw the primaries that led to the election of Dr. Bawumia and all the problems associated with it. That conflict that characterized the election, which produced a lot of pain and other things, have not been resolved. There are people who are still licking their wounds relative to that election. So I was expecting the party to start off from that angle by trying to do the conflict resolution bit, resolving all those ones. And then you get opportunity to look at your report and what it says. They ignore this and decided to go on a thank you tour. To thank who? You've already thanked the people. Remember when Dr. Bawumia came out to accept the results, which was very fantastic at the time. What he did also to apologize to their poor performance to the people, and then thank all those who voted for them and those who even didn't vote for them. And for me, that should settle that issue. Going on a thank you tour, whilst you have a problem on your hand, how are you going to get people united and all that? They say the word, you're going around, telling people to come together to have the same family back and all that. You are wasting everybody's time. There are pressing issues. You want to just shove them under the carpet. And now you see the boomerang effect. I think that they want to listen, because part of their report says that arrogance of what power brought them this far. If you look at what some of them are doing now, they don't want to listen. Remember, Dr. Bawumia explained arrogance of power in chief, that they refuse to listen to the people and all that. Are they listening to the people now? This is arrogance in opposition. And I'm not sure they want to maintain that. Why you want to do something to take away that tag, arrogance of power? You are in opposition, and we are exhibiting the same level of what? Arrogance in opposition. I'm not sure they want to get away one tag and create another one. They have to listen, and it will help them build a party, and the party will be able to stand the test of time. This is a giant party by all standards. There's a party with a lot of following. That's why it's a mass party, that there are people from all walks of life, ethnic groups, religious groups, all of them are in there. So if there are problems and people are advising, please listen. Politics is about what? It's not only about success. It's also about what? Criticisms. And once you are interested in success, you must also create opportunity to accept criticisms when they come, because they are the oils that grease the wheels of governance, without which everything will grind to a halt.
Dr. Mohammed, let me just start from here, going back to the CJ issue. I have a comment coming through from Reverend Lati, who lives in the UK but is a Ghanaian. He says, good morning. Is the GBA saying, and he's a lawyer himself, is the GBA saying that the president of the state cannot appoint an acting CJ because he is not a lawyer? The president is the president of the country. His powers are endorsed and affirmed by the Constitution to defend the Constitution. The GBA's powers are limited and cannot ask the president to lift the suspension of the CJ. That is his thinking. But coming back to Dr. Mohammed, coming back to the thank you tour, I have heard some former members of the MPP, including the likes of Nana Yaw-Sarpong, and some current members suggest that it seemingly is propping one candidate over others, because in any case, the former flag bearer is not the leader of the party as of now. The chairman of the party and the general secretary should be the arrowhead, but it appears that it is the former flag bearer who is leading the charge, and that seems to disadvantage others. However, to give him his flowers, in this altercation between Abronye and Kennedy Japan, Dr. Bawumia played a peace role. He brokered peace in the end, and the two gentlemen shook hands. What is your reflection on this thank you tour in that regard? Also considering that former Chief of Staff Kwadwo Mpiani has criticized it, and he is calling for it to be suspended immediately. Your take?
Well, last week I said that what would they be talking about, if you remember?
I do.
Yes, exactly. So that was why I asked that question. What are you going to be talking about in the thank you tour? If they have truly reflected what they will talk about in the thank you tour, I don't think that what is coming up will have been coming up now. You see, you have a report at your hand. Why don't you interrogate the report properly to know what were the weaknesses that you encountered during the elections?
Right.
What is the way forward? What is a particular person going to be saying in relation to the report? So you apportion the report on the basis of the information in the report. So when you go to places, you will speak about the excerpts of the report and tell them that this is where and how we fell short of. This is what we are planning to do as a party.
Right.
So I will join hands, I think, in the call of Mpiani that they should suspend it and come back to the drawing table and reflect thoroughly so that they can see the issues that they can go out there to talk about. Nobody is saying that you shouldn't go for thank you talk, but you have to reflect on what to go and say. You remember that when the NDC was defeated in 2016, they had similar issues. They didn't went around doing thank you talk. they commissioned the Kostuboche's report, and he did the research and presented the report. They looked into the report. On the basis of the report, they now went around and did the
healing the wounds. Right.
Yeah, the healing wounds tour. That is how you caption it. You don't caption it as a thank you tour because people were disenchanted and there were a lot of challenges in the process.
Right.
So it is only going to be unraveled on the basis of the report that you have. So I think that they need to really call it off, come and sit on the drawing board, interrogate the report properly, and come out with messages that can truly reflect who they stand for and communicate it properly. Organization decides everything. If you don't organize well, you are going to be disenchanted the more.
He spoke on the Pulse yesterday, and he also said it was a misplaced priority, the thank you tour, and that there was a need to suspend it. And he also said what is happening is not good for the party. The MPP must take a step back, go indoors, and find a way out of this mess. But let's move away from there. Only 35% of teenagers in mining areas attend school. A study conducted by Child Rights International has revealed that only 35% of teenagers living in mining communities are enrolled in school. The research, which examined the impact of illegal mining activities on children's education, health and safety, showed that 18% of children aged 13 and 14 or 13 to 14 years and 17% of those aged 15 to 17 years are currently attending school. The report is titled "The Hidden Toll of Illegal Mining on Children in Ghana," this makes for very interesting reading, and it's a grave concern where only 35% of teenagers in mining areas are attending school. That will also tell you about the attraction of wanting to go into illegal mining. TUC urges government to pass Occupational Safety, Health and Environment Bill. The Ghana Trades Union Congress, in commemoration of the World Day for Safety and Health, has urged the government to ensure the passage of the Occupational Safety, Health and Environment Bill. This, the TUC said, was to protect the working people of Ghana. We further call on employers and governments in Africa to invest in OSHE, that is what I just mentioned, to minimize or eliminate preventable deaths and injuries at all places of work. Then Mahama launches Ghana Medical Trust Fund, and we all know about his actually saying that 6 months of his salary should go into some of those. There's an editorial here. The chickens have come home to roost, and you can get your take on that as well. It's a bit of an interesting one. Ghana's energy sector poses greatest risk to economy. That's the IMF. I'll wrap on that and leave this newspaper. The IMF has endorsed the finance minister's assessment that inefficiencies within Ghana's energy sector pose the greatest threat to the country's economic stability. IMF mission chief for Ghana, Stefan Roudet, reaffirmed the fund's long-standing concerns about the sector's financial shortcomings, emphasizing that the energy sector reforms remained a cornerstone of Ghana's IMF-supported program. I'll start with you, Doc Asante, come to Dr. Mohammed, and then we move from there.
I'll look at the story about 35% of teenagers, only 35% of them enroll in schools. It's a sorry story by all standards. In whatever we do, we must protect the interests of the child.
Right.
In whatever we do. And the Children's Act makes it abundantly clear. Why are we in this state? Is it the case that institutions charged with the responsibility of protecting children and promoting their interests, they are not working? It's $1 million question we need to find answers to. Because if they are working, why are we where we are? Is it the case that, socialization has broken down? There's no family that support children and socialize them into becoming the best for themselves and for their society. Is it the case? Is it also the case that, look, poverty is so endemic that children now feel the heat that they want to leave the homes of their parents to go and look for means of survival? How do we deal with these questions in a triangle? All that we have to do is that we have to stop galamsey now to make it unattractive to people and including our children, and then make sure that we get children back to the classroom.
Right.
Once we are able to do that, we are home and dry. Issue of occupational safety, health issues relative to what the TUC have said. And I think it's the right point that they are saying, because you go to certain organizations and you realize that in terms of occupational safety,
right,
they are just, they don't have anything in place, right? Structures, institutions are non-existent. So we expect that as TUC has come out with this, they will make sure that organizations will incorporate this into their modus operandi and make sure that people live by them. Right. And my third one is for Ghana Medical Trust Fund. The president has begun the whole process. Sometimes our problems in this country is that we are not able to sustain very good programs and all that. And then also, we don't assess programs to know whether they are viable or not, where they need to tinker with them and improve the whole system. Right. I hope this one will deviate from that and we'll have a system that will stand the test of time.
All right. Before I go to Dr. Mohammed, tied to the IMF issue, Bright Simmons calls for structural reform in IMF and World Bank programs. You can catch the details of that on page 6 of the paper. Demonstration against Chief Justice removal. Organizers notify the police. And of course, members of GUM said they wasn't going to partake in it, but the MPP, the NDP, the LPG, all participating in this. So NPP, LPG, NDP, and the PNP, all of them participating in it. And it's slated for May the 5th, 2025. That should be Monday, I think. But tied to that, PPP slams GBA, backs Mahama's lawful suspension of Chief Justice. And the PPP says they insist the decision was lawful and firmly rooted in the dictates of the 1992 Constitution. So different angles there. Dr. Mohammed.
Well, I'll start with the energy sector.
Okay.
I think that there has been a very good work done in the sector, especially when Dr. Atufosun presented a paper during the Economic Dialogue series. Right. And even subsequently, the discussion that went on. Currently, we had about $2.2 billion, which is indebted in the energy sector. And one thing you can note is that there is highly significant round of inefficiencies in the energy sector. And that is what is actually affecting our ability to be able to maintain the power in a very good manner. I think that authorities must sit up. We have to look at the value chain, especially from the production through the distribution, etc. The last time I said that we need to look at ECG operations, and we need to it is time for us to decentralize ECG operations. ECG can also be a sub-major supplier to additional distributors. So we can have inroads, new distributors coming into the system who are going to take charge of certain blocks of the energy sector. And ECG can distribute to them, and they can also supply and get their margins. That doesn't mean that we are going to have a significant increase in power prices. We can maintain similar power prices, just that we are further decentralizing it. It means that ECG is not able to do their work very well. It's not only ECG, even NETCO. They are both not doing their work very well. So if you're able to decentralize that, like we have the Enclave Power Authority, and we have it for the housing, the individual consumers, and we have for the businesses, I believe that we can have a headway to go. We can iron out most of the problems in the energy sector. Now, to Mahama Care, I think it's a laudable idea, but it has to be rooted in consistency and continuous funding. He has decided that he's going to donate 6 months of his salary to it. The health minister also said 3 months of the salary into it. That is not, it is just a tip of the iceberg. Can we have a sustainable financing for this sector, can we say that the COVID levy that we were having, can we say that we are shifting that levy to a health emergency fund so that we can use that to fund the health sector, so that we can use that as a sustainable means of financing for the Mahama care? This is what we should be thinking about. Can we say that portion of our oil money, we are going to use component of it and fund the health sector so that when we realign the annual budgetary funding amount, portion of it is gone into that sector purposely to fund that particular care. So if we are able to have these two permanent, semi-permanent, sources of revenue, we can see a foreseeable future in that particular fund. But if it's just going to be relying on donations into the fund, trust me, it's not going to see the light of the day.
All right.
Ghanaians themselves must contribute to the fund, and the fund can work and work efficiently. The last point I want to bring to hand is about safety at our workplaces. It's really important that the trade union is calling for it. I think that every workplace must provide safety protective gears, especially those in the construction sector and those in other areas that has to do with adhesives and other things. They really need to provide safety environment for everyone to work. Even every workplace, if there is going to be a construction, ensure that the safety gears are provided. Sometimes they are even painting a building, and you see the kind of things that they roofed around, and people pass under it. There is no even signature to show that you have to pass here, you have to do this, you have to do that. Nobody cares about anything. Elsewhere, before anything is done, they will put up a very long distance. By the time you realize, you only see the building out.
Okay.
You don't see it working from the beginning.
All right. So the Daily Guide newspaper, poisoned, crippled, Ghana's kids pay price for galamsey. More details of that on page 6. We've already taken a look at that, but they are saying that on the altar of money, we're sacrificing our children, some of them going into the pits to earn as much as 4,200 Ghana cedis a month, 4 times, more than 4 times the average household income. But in doing so, they risk their education and they risk their very lives. Then there's 3 Indians arrested for suspected gold smuggling. I'm not looking at the other stories because they are stories we've already looked at, but 3 men, all Indian nationals, have been arrested by the Gold Board Security Task Force for suspected gold smuggling, and that issue is there as well. The Daily Gist, NDC rules out 3rd term bid for Mahama. There's been conversation about that with allegations from the NPP fraternity that there are plans afoot for the president to go for a 3rd term, and this is being quashed. They say there is no such plan in the woodwork. Time running out for McDunn Group over FIC probe. GBA draws blood over Chief Justice suspension, and Boku combatants storm Manshia for peace talks. That story there of interest because as of yesterday, the mediation effort of the Otumfuo said to the 2nd commenced. The Ghanaian Point, some interesting newspapers, huh? President Mahama launches Ghana Medical Trust Fund. Let me just do stories I've not done. Ekufuado to snub Bawumia in upcoming NPP Congress. That's according to Dr. Arthur Kennedy. He's been speaking on those matters. And Ibrahim Mahama pledges support as HOPSA 2001 year group launches Sustainable Water Project. Any reactions to any of these stories or headlines before I proceed, gentlemen? Dr. Mohammed, yes. I'm coming. Okay, so let me start with you, Dr. Hassan Asante.
Yes, let me take you a little back to the Demo story, which then I'll quickly zoom on to.
It has to be very quick. We have just a few minutes.
Yes, the Demo story. Yes, the Constitution gives everybody the right to demonstrate, provided you follow the public rules of engagement. And there is nothing wrong anybody demonstrating. But what are we demonstrating about? Is it the case that the Chief Justice has been sacked? Is it the case that the Chief Justice cannot appear before the committee and defend herself? Is it the case that we already know what the outcome will be? So there are things that agitate my mind, because from the pusher of people, the way they talk, the way they analyze, the way they talk about this issue, it gives me the impression that people are already seized with the outcome and for which reason they are talking the way they are talking.
Right.
What they don't know that they are not fair to the Chief Justice in the sense that the woman will have a day before the committee. Remember, we are not dealing with any ordinary human being, but a lawyer by all standards excellent, who has, developed herself to become a Chief Justice. She knows what to do, and then you'll be able to defend herself. It doesn't matter the forum.
Right.
So, yeah, but the demonstration is right, but I'll urge the security people to shepherd the process and allow everybody to demonstrate freely.
Okay.
That's all.
All right. Dr. Mohammed?
Yeah, well, I would talk. I think, well, the demonstration is in the right order. They have the right to go and demonstrate. They can do anything they want to do. But I just hope that the security services will give them the needed protection so that they can exercise their constitutional right. But you have to demonstrate with decorum. They should provide all their information and come and submit it. The authorities will look at it for them.
All right. There's the Inquisitor, the clash of the uncouths, Kumpreko Abronya in War of Words. OSP drags Bisu to court. I'm sure you followed that. And let common sense prevail, Chief of Staff to appointees. The Ghanaian point, I believe I've done that story. The Arthur Kennedy story is interesting. You can get details from the paper. The custodian, Gexim, that is the Ghana Exim Bank, seeks funding from investors. The news center, there's also MTN Ghana records stellar start to 2025. And I'm not doing stories I've already done. That's why I'm skipping. Gentlemen, final words, some 20 seconds each, and we are good to go. Dr. Mohammed, final words.
Well, Ghanaians have to be responsible. I think that the issue about the children's not attending school and going into Galamsey, we have to look at it. Authorities should observe that and get to work so that we can unravel that particular problem. Okay.
Dr. Asan Asante.
All our conversation so far have some link with the economy. I expect that this government will deliver on its promise and be able to create that enabling environment to allow people to have means of livelihood so that problem about the economy, problem about what unemployment will be a thing of the past.
Doc, let's meet at the fish farm. That's how we
definitely. I look forward to seeing you, and you will enjoy. Come with your basket.
I should come with my basket. Okay.
You go home smiling.
I'll go home smiling. Thank you for the proposition, Doc. That is Dr. Kwame Asante. He is a political scientist and head of the Center for European Studies at the University of Ghana. And I also had Dr. Jabir Mohammed, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you, gentlemen.